The sky turned red at noon. No warning came before the ships appeared. They were huge and dark, blocking the sun over every major city on Earth. Captain Ta-1 Kim stood on the roof of the Seoul military base, looking up at the massive ship. His hand gripped his radio tightly. Reports were coming in from all over the world. The same ships hung over New York, London, Tokyo, and 100 other cities. "Sir, what are those things?" asked a young soldier next to him. Ta-1 had no answer. 20 years in the military had not prepared him for this day. The first beam of light shot down from the ship above Paris. On the screens inside the command center, they watched as the Eiffel Tower melted into nothing. Then came the screams over the radio. Moscow was hit next, then Beijing. "Get everyone to the underground bunkers now," Ta-1 shouted. He ran down the stairs, his heart pounding in his chest. The base sirens wailed. Men and women rushed to their stations. The attack on Seoul came 5 minutes later. The ground shook. The lights went out. When emergency power came on, half the screens showed only static. "Casualties?" Ta-1 asked, his voice steady despite his fear. "Downtown is gone, sir," said the communications officer. "The Blue House, the financial district, all gone." Ta-1 closed his eyes for a moment. His parents lived downtown, his sister and her children too. He pushed the thought away. "Any contact with other military bases?" he asked. "No, sir. We appear to be the last functioning military outpost in South Korea." Hours passed. More cities fell. The soldiers watched in silence as humanity's greatest centers were reduced to ash. When night came, the red sky turned black, lit only by fires burning across the city. "Captain Kim." A guard called from the entrance. "Someone is at the gate. She says she knows you." Ta-1 went to the security monitor. The camera showed a woman in a torn lab coat, her face dirty but determined. "Jae-in," he whispered, recognizing his childhood friend. "Let her in immediately." Dr. Jae-in Park stumbled into the command center minutes later. Her hands clutched a small metal case. "Ta-1," she said, catching her breath. "The university is gone. Everyone is gone." He helped her to a chair and gave her water. "What happened? Who are they?" he asked. "They call themselves the Vora," she said. "I know because they broadcast it before they destroyed the physics building. They said Earth now belongs to the Vora Empire." The room fell silent. "How did you survive?" Ta-1 asked. "I was in the underground lab when the attack came. I've been working on something." She patted the metal case. "I think it might help us." "What is it?" Jae-in opened the case. Inside was a small device with complex circuits. "The Vora ships emit a unique energy signature. I've been studying similar patterns for my research. This device can detect and potentially disrupt their technology." Ta-1 looked at the tiny device, then at the screen showing destruction across the world. "You think this can stop them? They've destroyed most of Earth in less than a day." "Not yet," she admitted. "But it's a start. If I can study their technology more closely, I might be able to find a weakness." A loud explosion rocked the base. Dust fell from the ceiling. "They're getting closer," said Ta-1. He made a quick decision. "We need to move. This base won't be safe for much longer." "Where can we go?" Jae-in asked. "There's an old bunker in the mountains, built during the Cold War and forgotten. Only a few people know about it." He turned to his remaining officers. "Gather all survivors, weapons, and supplies. We leave in 30 minutes." As they prepared to abandon the base, Ta-1 looked at Jae-in's device. It seemed so small against the threat they faced. "Do you really think we have a chance?" he asked quietly. Jae-in's eyes were tired but determined. "Humans have always found a way to survive. The Vora don't know what they've started. This isn't the end of humanity, Ta-1. It's the beginning of our fight back." 3 months had passed since the Vora attacked Earth. The mountain bunker was now home to 43 survivors. Captain Tadwan Kim had turned the old Cold War shelter into a working base. The walls were covered with maps showing Vora activity across Korea. "They're moving again," said Han Sol, pointing to marks on the map. Before the invasion, Han Sol had been in special forces. Now he led the scouting teams. 3 ships landed near the old Busan port yesterday. Taiwan nodded. "What are they doing there?" "Taking things. Metal, water, and..." Han Sol paused. "People. They're still taking people." The room grew quiet. Everyone knew what happened to the humans the Vora captured. No one ever came back. "How many people did they take?" asked Taiwan. "At least 20. A small group of survivors was hiding in an underground mall. The Vora found them somehow." Myrae, a 17-year-old girl who had been studying engineering before the world ended, looked up from her workbench. "They can sense electrical activity. If the survivors were using power, the Vora would know." Myrae was the youngest in their group, but one of the smartest. She helped Dr. Jae-in Park with her research. Together, they worked on ways to fight the aliens. "We need more parts," Jae-in said, entering the main room. Her eyes were tired. She hadn't slept much in days. "The device is almost ready, but I need computer chips from the new Vora ships." Taiwan sighed. Getting close to the Vora was dangerous. 3 scouts had died last month trying to collect samples. "We'll plan a raid," he said. "Han Sol, prepare your team. Myrae, draw up a list of exactly what Jae-in needs." That night, Taiwan found Jae-in working alone in the lab area. Papers covered with strange symbols and drawings were spread across the table. "You should rest," he said. Jae-in shook her head. "I can't. I think I've found something important." She pointed to her notes. "The Vora aren't just taking our resources. They're interested in human brains, specifically our neural tissue." "Why?" "I'm not sure yet. But look at this." She showed him pictures taken by scouts. The images showed strange machines where captured humans were connected to Vora technology. "They're not just killing us. They're studying how we think." "Can this help us fight them?" Taiwan asked. "Maybe. I've been working on my disruptor device. If the Vora are interested in human neural pathways, they might have similar systems themselves. A targeted electromagnetic pulse might affect their thinking." A loud bang interrupted them as the bunker door opened. Han Sol's team returned from a supply run. They carried food, medicine, and something else, a dead Vora soldier. "We got lucky," Han Sol explained, his clothes covered in purple alien blood. It was alone, separated from its group. "We took it down with minimal noise." Jae-in's eyes widened. "This is exactly what I needed." She called for Myrae to help move the alien to the lab area. For the next 2 days, Jae-in and Myrae worked non-stop studying the Vora body. The rest of the survivors watched nervously as the 2 women took the alien apart piece by piece. On the morning of the 3rd day, Jae-in called everyone together. "I found something," she said. She held up a small glowing object from inside the Vora's head. "This is their neural core. It's similar to a human brain, but it works differently. It uses electromagnetic signals to process information." "Can we use this?" Taiwan asked. Jae-in smiled for the first time in weeks. "Yes, Myrae, and I can modify my disruptor to target these neural cores. It won't kill them instantly, but it will confuse them, maybe even shut down their ships temporarily." Hope spread through the room. This was the first real chance they had to fight back. "There's more," Myrae added. "We found this inside its armor." She held up a small device with a screen showing dots of light. "It's a map. Those lights are other Vora ships. And this one," she pointed to a large light in the center, "must be their main base in Korea." Taiwan studied the map. "Then that's our target. We'll hit them where it hurts." For the first time since the invasion, the survivors began to plan an attack rather than just another escape. Jae-in had not left the lab for 3 days. Empty coffee cups surrounded her workbench. Mayray sat beside her, carefully connecting wires to a small metal box. "Try it now," Jayan said, pushing her hair from her face. Mayray pressed a button. The device hummed and a blue light blinked on. "It works." Mayray's tired face broke into a smile. Jayan picked up the box carefully. "The neural disruptor is ready. This frequency should affect the Vora's brain structure without hurting humans." They took their invention to the main room, where Tadwan and Hansol were planning a raid. "We need to test it on a live Vora," Jayan explained. "The dead one helped us understand their biology, but we need to see the disruptor's real effects." Taiwan studied the small device. "You're sure it won't harm us?" "Positive. Vora brains operate on completely different frequencies than human brains. The disruptor targets only their neural patterns." Hansol pointed to the map. "There's a small Vora outpost here, about 15 kilometers east. They have only 5 or 6 soldiers. We could raid it tonight." The plan was simple. A team of 4 would approach the Vora outpost under cover of darkness. Jayan would test the disruptor, and they would capture a stunned Vora for further study. That night, Taiwan led the team through the thick forest. Hansol moved silently ahead as their scout. Mayray carried spare parts to fix the disruptor if needed. Jayan held the device tightly, checking it every few minutes. The Vora outpost came into view just before midnight. It was a small metal structure with strange purple lights. 2 Vora soldiers stood guard outside. "Remember," Taiwan whispered, "we need one alive." Jayan pointed the disruptor at the outpost and pressed the button. The blue light glowed brighter. For a moment, nothing happened. Then one of the Vora guards twitched and fell to the ground. The other made a high-pitched noise before dropping its weapon. "It's working," Jayan whispered excitedly. Hansol moved quickly, rushing toward the stunned guards. He reached the first one and prepared to tie it up. But just as he bent down, the door to the outpost opened. 3 more Vora appeared, weapons ready. "Hansol, get out of there," Tadwan shouted. Jayan pointed the disruptor at the new threats and pressed the button again. But this time, only a weak light appeared. "The battery is draining too fast." The Vora fired their weapons. Strange blue energy shot through the air. Hansol dove for cover, but he was too exposed. The blue light hit him in the leg. He screamed in pain. Taiwan fired his gun at the Vora, giving Hansol a chance to crawl toward the trees. Mayray ran to help him, pulling him behind a large rock. "We need to retreat," Taiwan called. But Jayan wasn't listening. She had stopped, staring at a glowing screen inside the open door of the outpost. "Taiwan, look at this." Despite the danger, Taiwan glanced at the screen. It showed a map of the galaxy with hundreds of planets marked in purple. "What is that?" he asked. "It's a map of conquered worlds," Jayan said, her face pale. "Earth isn't their first target. They've done this hundreds of times before." A shot hit the ground near their feet. "We can study this later. We need to move now." Tadwan grabbed Jayan's arm. As they retreated, the Vora soldiers recovered from the disruptor's effects. They fired wildly into the forest. The team ran through the trees, half carrying Hansol, who clutched his wounded leg. The blue energy had burned through his pants and left a strange glowing mark on his skin. "Did we get what we needed?" Taiwan asked once they were safely away. Jayan nodded, looking at the disruptor. "It works, but only for about 30 seconds. The power source isn't strong enough, and the range is too small for large-scale use." "What about Hansol?" Mayray asked, examining his leg. "I'll be fine," Hansol said through clenched teeth. "Did anyone else see that map? Earth is just one of many. We're dealing with an empire that crushes worlds." Taiwan helped Hansol walk as they moved deeper into the forest. "One planet at a time," he said. "We focus on saving ours first." But Jayan was quiet, her mind racing with what she had seen. The Earth was facing an enemy far more terrible than they had imagined. A week after the raid, Hansol's leg was healing slowly. The strange blue mark had faded, but he still walked with a limp. The failed mission had made everyone quiet and sad. One morning, the radio in the bunker made a noise. It had been silent since the invasion. Now it crackled with static. "Hello? Is anyone there? This is Sung Ho calling from Daegu. If anyone can hear this, please respond." Taiwan grabbed the radio. "This is Captain Taiwan Kim. We hear you." For a moment, there was silence. Then the voice returned, excited. "Thank God. We thought we were the only ones left." Sung Ho explained that he led another group of survivors in an old subway station beneath Daegu City. They had 32 people, including 6 children and a woman named Du Yun, who used to work in military communications. "She fixed our radio last week," Sung Ho said. "We've been trying to contact anyone since then." The next day, Taiwan, Jae-in, and Mirai drove to meet Sung Ho's group. They took careful routes, avoiding Bora patrols. The journey took 7 hours. The subway station was dark but clean. Children played quietly in one corner. Adults worked at different tasks. When Taiwan's group arrived, everyone stared at the newcomers with hope in their eyes. Sung Ho was a tall man with a kind face. He had been a high school teacher before the invasion. Du Yun stood beside him, her short hair and sharp eyes showing her military background. "Welcome," Sung Ho said, shaking Taiwan's hand. "You don't know how good it is to see new faces." That night, they shared what they knew about the Vora. Sung Ho's group had collected information too. Du Yun showed them radio messages she had picked up from other parts of the world. "There are survivors everywhere," she said. "Small groups in America, Europe, Africa, all fighting in their own ways." Mirai studied the messages. "Look at this one from Canada. They say the Vora can't stand extremely cold temperatures." "And this one from Brazil," Jae-in added. "They've noticed the Vora avoid certain plants in the rainforest." Taiwan felt something he hadn't felt in months. Real hope. Each group has a piece of the puzzle. Together, we might find a way to beat them. Do Yun nodded. "I can set up a global communication network, connect all survivor groups. And I have good news about the neural disruptor," Jae-in said. "Based on what we learned from the raid, Mirai and I have improved it. The range is better, and it should work longer now. But we still need a way to use it against all Vora at once," Mirai added. "Small attacks won't win this war." Sung Ho spread a map on the table. "Our scouts found something interesting. The Vora have built a main command center here, in what used to be Seoul Stadium. All their communications seem to run through it." Taiwan studied the map. "If we could get inside and connect Jae-in's disruptor to their network, it could affect all Vora on Earth at once." Jae-in finished his thought. "But the command center will be heavily guarded." "We'll need a bigger team," Hansol said, limping into the room. "A coordinated attack." Du Yun's eyes lit up. "I can help with that. If we can contact all survivor groups, we could attack Vora outposts worldwide at the same time. Create a distraction." For the first time since the invasion, they began to form a real plan, not just for survival, but to take back their planet. That night, as others slept, Taiwan found Jae-in working alone. "Do you think this will work?" he asked quietly. Jae-in looked up from her notes. "It has to. The Vora have conquered hundreds of worlds, but they've never faced humans before." She smiled slightly. "We're more stubborn than they expected." Taiwan nodded. "Tomorrow we start planning the biggest counterattack in human history, with the smallest army," Jae-in added. "Small but smart," Taiwan said. "And fighting for our home." Outside, a Vora ship passed overhead, its lights scanning the ground. But deep underground, humanity was beginning to fight back. The day of the attack arrived after weeks of planning. Du Yun had contacted resistance groups around the world. At exactly noon, they would all attack Vora outposts in their areas. The main team would use this distraction to enter the Vora command center. Tai-1 checked his weapons one last time. Everyone ready. Jayan nodded, the neural disruptor secure in her backpack. Myray had helped make it stronger, but it still needed to be connected directly to the Vora network to affect all aliens at once. Remember the plan, Tai-1 said to his team. Sun Ho leads the distraction force outside. We go in, find the main computer, connect the disruptor, and get out. They moved through underground tunnels that led toward Seoul Stadium. The once proud sports arena now looked like an alien fortress. Strange metal towers rose from its center. Purple lights pulsed along its walls. At exactly noon, explosions sounded from the other side of the city. Sun Ho's team had begun their attack. Vora ships took off from the stadium, flying toward the noise. Now, Tai-1 signaled. His small team ran toward a side entrance. They had studied the stadium plans for days. This door led to maintenance tunnels under the main floor. Inside, the air felt wrong. It was too warm and smelled like metal. The walls glowed with the same purple light they had seen at the Vora outpost. This way, Myray whispered, following a map on a small tablet. The control room should be up ahead. They turned a corner and froze. A large room opened before them. Inside were rows of glass containers. Each one held a human, connected to machines with tubes and wires. What are they doing to them? Jayan whispered, her face pale. Myray scanned the room with a small device. Brain activity. They're scanning their thoughts, their memories. Tai-1. A weak voice called from one of the containers. Is that you? They rushed to the voice. Behind the glass was Hansol. Tubes ran into his arms and head. His eyes were red but alert. Hansol, we thought you died in the last raid. Tai-1 pressed buttons on the side of the container until the glass lifted. They captured me, Hansol said as Jayan removed the tubes from his body. They've been studying me, learning about humans. Can you walk? Tai-1 asked. Hansol nodded weakly. I know where the main control system is. They took me past it many times. With Hansol leading them, they moved deeper into the stadium. They passed more rooms with captured humans. Tai-1 wanted to free them all but knew they didn't have time. The control room was massive. Strange machines lined the walls. In the center was a glowing purple column that reached the ceiling. That's their network hub, Hansol said. Everything connects to it. Jayan took out the neural disruptor. I need to connect it directly to the hub. Myray studied the column. There's a problem. The hub produces massive energy. Whoever connects the disruptor will be hit with that energy. How bad? Tai-1 asked. Mayray's face was serious. Fatal. The energy would overload a human brain in seconds. Silence fell over the group. The plan had come so far, only to hit this final obstacle. I'll do it, said a voice from behind them. Du Yun stood in the doorway. Her clothes were torn and bloody. The distraction team? Tai-1 asked. Most made it to safety. I came to find you. She took the disruptor from Jayan's hands. I was a communications specialist. I understand how this works. Du Yun, you'll die, Jayan said softly. Du Yun smiled sadly. One life to save what's left of humanity. That's a good trade. She looked at each of them. Make sure it counts. Before anyone could stop her, Du Yun ran to the column. She connected the disruptor to the glowing hub. Purple energy surged around her body. She screamed in pain but held the device in place. The disruptor lit up brightly. A high-pitched sound filled the air. Throughout the building, they could hear Vora soldiers falling to the ground. Du Yun's body slumped to the floor, her mission complete. It's working, Jayan whispered, tears in her eyes. The signal is spreading through their network. Tai-1 put his hand on Jayan's shoulder. She gave us a chance. Let's not waste it. Outside, they could hear the sounds of battle. Humanity's counterattack had begun. The neural disruptor sent waves of energy through the Vora network. Outside the command center, alien soldiers fell to the ground, their bodies twitching as the signal disrupted their minds. "We need to move now," Ta-1 said, looking away from Du Yin's body. "The effect won't last forever." They ran through the hallways, passing fallen Vora. Han Sol, though weak from captivity, kept up with them. They reached the main floor of the stadium, where hundreds of Vora lay disabled. "The signal worked better than we hoped," Jayan said, checking the small device in her hand that monitored the disruptor's effects. Suddenly, Mireille cried out in pain. A Vora soldier had grabbed her ankle. It was recovering already, its eyes glowing with anger. Tai-1 shot the alien, but more were beginning to move. "The effect is wearing off faster than we expected." "Run," Han Sol shouted. They sprinted toward the exit as Vora soldiers started to stand up around them. A blast of energy hit the wall beside them. Mireille screamed as pieces of hot metal cut into her side. Blood soaked through her jacket. "I've got you," Ta-1 said, lifting Mireille into his arms. They reached the exit where Sung Ho waited with a truck. "Get in," Sung Ho yelled over the sound of fighting. All across the city, human resistance fighters were attacking the confused Vora. They sped away from the stadium as explosions rocked the building behind them. Someone had set charges during the confusion. Back at the subway base, they treated Mireille's wounds. The metal had cut deep into her side and arm. "Will she be okay?" Tai-1 asked as Jayan bandaged the girl. "The wounds are bad, but she's strong," Jayan said. "She needs rest." In the main room, reports came in from around the world. The neural disruptor had affected Vora globally, but only for about 30 minutes. It was enough time for resistance groups to strike hard and capture Vora weapons and vehicles. "We hurt them today," Sung Ho said, his face tired but proud. For the first time, the Vora know humans can fight back. Han Sol studied a computer screen showing intercepted Vora communications. "They're calling for reinforcements," he said grimly. "More ships are coming from space." The news silenced the room. After all their work and Du Yin's sacrifice, they had only made the Vora angry. "How long do we have?" Ta-1 asked. 3 days, maybe 4, Han Sol replied. "And there's something else. The Vora are adapting to the neural disruptor. They're changing their communication frequencies." Jayan looked up from treating Mireille. "That means our disruptor won't work on the new forces. We need to make it stronger, more adaptable." "Can you do that?" Ta-1 asked. Jayan shook her head. "Not with what we have. We would need a power source unlike anything on Earth." Mireille spoke weakly from her bed. "What about? Not from Earth." Everyone turned to look at her. "The Vora ships," Mireille continued, her voice strained. "They have power cores. If we could get one." "That's suicide," Ta-1 said. "Their ships are too well guarded, especially now." The room fell silent again. Their moment of victory was fading fast. Sung Ho cleared his throat. There might be another way. He looked uncomfortable, like he was sharing a secret he had kept for too long. "Before the invasion, I wasn't just a teacher. I worked part-time at a government research facility." "What kind of facility?" Jayan asked. "The kind that studies things that aren't supposed to exist," Sung Ho said quietly. 20 years ago, archaeologists found something buried deep under the Korean peninsula. Something not made by humans or by the Vora. Han Sol stared at him. "What are you saying?" "I'm saying there's technology beneath us that predates human civilization," Sung Ho explained. "Technology with a power source unlike anything we've seen. If it survived the invasion, it might be exactly what we need." Tai-1 looked at Jayan, then at Mireille's wounded form. Their options were running out. "Where is this facility?" he asked Sung Ho. "About 50 kilometers north. Underground. If the Vora haven't found it yet, everything we need should still be there." Tai-1 nodded. "Then that's where we go next. before the reinforcements arrive. Outside, the sounds of fighting continued as humans reclaimed small pieces of their world. But in space, more Vora ships were already approaching Earth, ready to crush the rebellion. The journey north was dangerous. Vora patrols were everywhere, searching for the humans who had attacked their command center. Taiwan, Jayan, and Sungho traveled in an old truck with its engine muffled. Hansol stayed behind to protect the wounded Mirai and coordinate with other resistance groups. How much further? Taiwan asked as they drove through a forest at night. Almost there, Sungho replied. The entrance is hidden in those mountains ahead. They parked the truck in a cave and continued on foot. After an hour of climbing, Sungho stopped at what looked like a normal rock wall. He pressed his hand against a certain spot. A hidden door slid open. The security system still works, he said with relief. That means the power is still on inside. They entered a long tunnel lit by dim emergency lights. The air smelled clean, filtered by systems that had worked for decades without human help. What exactly is this place? Jayan asked, looking around in wonder. Project Ancestor, Sungho explained. The government's most secret research facility. Only 30 people in the world knew it existed. The tunnel opened into a massive underground chamber. In its center sat a strange object. It was a metal sphere about 3 meters wide. Its surface was covered with symbols that were not human or Vora. We found it 60 meters underground in 2002, Sungho said. Carbon dating put it at over 50,000 years old. It's not from Earth. Jayan approached the sphere carefully. Who made it? We don't know. We call them the ancestors. They may have visited Earth long before humans evolved. This device was their legacy. Taiwan looked confused. If you had alien technology all this time, why didn't you use it when the Vora first attacked? Sungho's face showed shame. The government wanted to understand it completely before revealing it to the world. We were still studying it when the invasion began. By then, it was too late to organize a response. Jayan examined the sphere without touching it. What does it do? It's an energy source, Sungho explained. It creates power unlike anything we've seen. Our scientists could barely understand its principles. Jayan's eyes lit up. This could power an enhanced neural disruptor, one that could affect all Vora permanently, not just temporarily. Suddenly, alarms began to sound throughout the facility. Red lights flashed on the walls. What's happening? Taiwan asked, drawing his gun. Sungho ran to a computer terminal. Proximity alert. Something's approaching from outside. On a security screen, they saw 3 Vora ships landing near the mountain. They found us, Taiwan said grimly. Someone must have tracked our truck. How long until they reach this chamber? Jayan asked. 20 minutes, maybe less, Sungho replied. The facility has some automated defenses, but they won't hold for long. Jayan turned to the sphere. I need to understand how this works. Fast. She connected her tablet to the facility's computer. Information about the ancestor device filled the screen. Jayan read quickly, her eyes moving back and forth. It's incredible, she whispered. The sphere creates energy by drawing power from another dimension. That's why it never runs out. Can you use it? Taiwan asked, watching the security screens as Vora soldiers began cutting through the outer doors. I think so, Jayan said. But I'll need to modify our neural disruptor completely. The power from this device would destroy our current model. How long will that take? Sungho asked. Hours. Time we don't have. The facility shook as an explosion hit the upper levels. The Vora were getting closer. Taiwan checked his weapon. Sungho and I will hold them off. You work on the disruptor. Jayan grabbed his arm. There's something else. The computer says the sphere can do more than provide power. It can amplify signals across the entire planet. If I can connect our disruptor to it correctly, we could affect every Vora on Earth at once. Hope returned to Taiwan's face. Do it. We'll buy you as much time as we can. As Ta-1 and Sung-Ho moved to defend the entrance, Jae-in worked frantically on the neural disruptor. The ancient sphere hummed softly beside her, its alien energy waiting to be unleashed after 50,000 years of silence. Explosions shook the underground facility. Ta-1 and Sung-Ho had set traps in the upper tunnels, but the Vora kept coming. They fell back to a narrow hallway leading to the main chamber where Jae-in worked. "How many bullets do you have left?" Sung-Ho asked, breathing hard. Ta-1 checked his gun. 12. You. 8. Sung-Ho wiped sweat from his forehead. Not enough. The radio on Ta-1's belt crackled. "Ta-1, can you hear me?" It was Han Sol's voice. "I hear you," Ta-1 replied. "We're in trouble. Vora found the facility." "I know. We tracked their ships. Help is coming." Before Ta-1 could ask what kind of help, another explosion rocked the tunnel. Pieces of the ceiling fell around them. In the main chamber, Jae-in connected wires between the neural disruptor and the ancient sphere. The alien device hummed louder as she worked, its symbols glowing with blue light. "Almost there," she muttered to herself. The facility's computer had shown her how to link the technologies, but the work was delicate. One wrong connection could destroy everything. The chamber door opened. Ta-1 and Sung-Ho backed in, firing their last bullets at the Vora soldiers following them. "We're out of time," Ta-1 shouted. "How close are you?" "I need 2 more minutes," Jae-in called back, not looking up from her work. "We don't have 2 minutes," Sung-Ho said as 3 Vora appeared in the doorway. Suddenly, a new sound filled the air. A human transport helicopter hovered outside the mountain. Bullets rained down on the Vora troops from above. "The help Han Sol promised," Ta-1 said with a grin. Through the doorway, they saw Mi-Ray leading a group of resistance fighters. Despite her wounds, she moved quickly, directing the attack. "Keep them back," she shouted. "Give Jae-in more time." The resistance fighters formed a line, blocking the Vora from entering the main chamber. The battle was fierce. Humans fell, but they held their ground. In the chamber, Jae-in made the final connections. The disruptor was now linked to the ancient sphere, but her face showed worry. "There's a problem," she said. "The disruptor has to be activated from the Vora mothership to affect their entire network." "The mothership?" Ta-1 stared at her. "That's impossible. It's in orbit around Earth. Someone has to take this control device to the mothership and activate it there." Jae-in held up a small black box connected to the main disruptor by a thin energy beam. "That's a suicide mission," Sung-Ho said. "No human could get on that ship." "I could." The voice came from behind them. Han Sol stood in the doorway, his skin showing the blue marks from Vora weapons. "The Vora experimented on me, changed parts of me. Their scanners might read me as one of them." Ta-1 shook his head. "No, we'll find another way." "There is no other way," Han Sol said quietly. "The reinforcements will arrive tomorrow. This is our last chance." Mi-Ray joined them, her side bandaged but bleeding again from the fight. "Our scouts captured a small Vora shuttle. It could reach the mothership." Han Sol nodded. "I can fly it. The Vora put enough of their knowledge in my head during the experiments." Silence fell over the group. They all knew this was their only option. Jae-in handed the control device to Han Sol. "Once you're on the mothership, find their central network hub. It will look like a large column of light. Connect this device to it, then press this button." She showed him a red switch on top of the box. "What happens then?" Han Sol asked. "The neural disruptor's signal will travel through their entire network, amplified by the ancient sphere. It will permanently disable all Vora connected to the network." "And the mothership?" Jae-in hesitated. "The energy surge will likely destroy it." Han Sol nodded, understanding what this meant. He looked at each of his friends, these people who had fought beside him to save Earth. "It has been an honor," he said simply. Ta-1 embraced his friend. No words were needed. Outside, The resistance fighters loaded the ancient sphere and the main disruptor onto their helicopter. The device would keep working as long as the energy beam connected it to the control box Han Solo carried. As dawn broke over the mountains, Han Solo boarded the stolen Vora shuttle. The small ship rose into the sky, heading toward the massive mothership that hung like a dark star above Earth. The final battle for humanity had begun.